Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Pro Wrestling Throwdown for the week of December 19th, 2020. This is Luke the Big Dog Williams. I'm Caleb Black, our in-studio producer, the mighty Max Fury. And it's time for Top 5, the first Top 5 of the week. We're talking about close calls in professional wrestling where something could have gone much more terribly wrong, or something could have happened inevitably wrong that didn't, fortunately, either to the savvy and ring awareness of one of the performers in the ring, or the referee, or somebody involved.
God's grace.
Luck. Dumb luck. The fact that Kevin Nash had a little less to drink that day. We're going to get right into it. Luke, bring us into our number 5.
Number 5. Okay. This one's going to take a little bit of setup.
Okay.
It was Night of the Skywalkers in the NWA. Starrcade.
Is this the first one?
This is the one where James Cornette, James E, was hanging on top of the...
What is this? LOD?
The scaffold.
It's LOD and the Midnight.
And the Midnight.
It's LOD and the Midnight Express.
Yeah, but it's Stan and Eaton.
Yeah.
And he swings and he comes down, and when he hits the ground, he busts both kneecaps.
Yeah.
Could have went horribly wrong.
Oh, yeah.
With the swing that he was taking.
If he'd have landed on his ass the way he swung out that way, and if he'd have landed on his butt, it could have caused a huge compression spinal injury. Probably he wouldn't be able to walk anymore.
For sure. The wherewithal to
maneuver himself,
to take the impact on the feet and then crumple was probably the safest way he could have possibly done.
Now, we're also a caveat real quick. We're not talking about crazy wrestling spots that we're like, oh my God.
Well, yes.
Some of them will be. We're talking about legitimate things that happened that could have been much worse than they were.
Much worse.
Yeah.
But yeah, that would be number 5 on
That's a good number 5.
Good way to start, I think.
Yeah.
We're going to go to 4. 4 being The Undertaker at No Way Out.
The Elimination Chamber match.
Yes, where the pyro sets him on fire.
Yeah.
Where he turns from one pyro directly into the other. 3rd-degree burns. But still finished the match.
Yep. I mean, sat in the cage for 40 minutes and then finished the match.
And like you were talking off camera, he had that. I mean, if it would have been zipped up,
he made the last minute decision to wear the long open jacket instead of the enclosed one that he has the clasps on. And when he talks about in his interview with Austin, he says it was the last second I decided to wear that. So all of the factors laying in, he just poured some fresh water on his head. He was wearing his hat, and he was wearing that open jacket that he was able to get off. If he decided to go with that enclosed one, what would have happened was he would have hit that one pyro, which burned him enough.
Right.
Then he would have turned into the second one. He wouldn't have had the hat on to protect his face because the hat went with that jacket.
Yes.
So automatically, more burns on his face, and that clasp jacket catches on fire. He also doesn't have any protection on his arms. So his arms are on fire, his face is on fire, his head's on fire, and then the jacket would have been burning him up, and he wouldn't have been able to throw it off the way he did with the
because the fire would have been trapped.
Right.
There would have been no way to get out of it.
Burnt him completely up. I mean, I'm sure the WWE would have responded with fire extinguishers and stuff, but it could have been so much worse.
Oh yeah, for sure.
If he'd have made one different decision that day. If he hadn't decided that last minute, hey, let's throw on the hat and the jacket.
Yeah. I mean,
crazy.
It could have been horrible. Could have been catastrophic. Number 3, I'm going to go with the Seth Rollins almost being impaled by the steel cage.
Oh yeah, they're lowering the cage in the spike.
He's trying to put a chair in as interference, and it comes this close to piercing his back.
Yeah.
The wherewithal once again knew he was out of time. Went to pull, because when the cage lowers, what they do nowadays for cages is they don't tie them to the post. There's a hole and a spike
that mounts the cage
itself
to the ring,
and he's underneath the rope trying to give a chair, and this thing is like on him.
Yeah,
and just had the wherewithal to move out of the way just in the right amount of time. I mean, it's hard to beat. Almost being impaled on TV as not being a close call.
Yeah, I mean
for sure.
And think about too, not just the impalement, because those cages are being lowered on trusses, which means it's a literal probably 4 to 5 tons of steel that has to be slowly lowered.
Yeah.
So you're thinking not only is he getting impaled, that cage is going to come down, regardless.
Yeah.
And even if they don't have the hydraulics to turn it around on a dime. All of that programming has to be done to reverse those trusses. So it would have impaled him, crushed him, and then when they were backing it up, probably pulled his body up with it and dropped it off of it. Like, we're talking about a gruesome execution scene in the Saw movie. So thankfully, Seth Rollins ducks out. That's a great close call.
Yeah. Number 3.
Merry Christmas.
Right? Are we on 2?
That's going to be his next Saw movie now.
Hold on. We talked Cornette, Taker, Rollins. Number 2.
Number 2, I've got, just because I've got to go with it this way, the Undertaker throwing Mick Foley through the cell.
You know,
because if Foley would have went up high for the choke slam on top of that cell, he would have come down on the back of his head and it would have been game over.
Well, and Taker talked too. If he was supposed to be even further, so if he would have been on the like a rung further or whatever when he threw him, they both would have come.
If he wouldn't have maneuvered himself on the truss, that was holding the cage together, yes, they both would have
gone through and landed on each other.
Would have been real bad. You can pick either fall. You can pick the one where he's fired off. If that table wouldn't have collapsed the way it needed to collapse,
where he managed to slide off of it,
it would have killed him.
Or if he would have missed the fucking table,
or if it wouldn't have broke.
Oh my gosh!
Let's be real. Broke.
In fairness, we've covered it. We've seen much simpler things cause tragic death and accidents.
Yes,
the death of Owen Hart completely avoidable.
Drozzed off.
Draws. Yeah.
Now, my number 1 didn't take place in the wrestling ring. My number 1 close call, because I'm a fan, took place outside the ring, and that's when Jerry Lawler had his heart attack at ringside.
Oh, yeah.
On the commentating table. If Michael Cole wouldn't have realized that Jerry Lawler was having a heart attack and wouldn't have got him the trainer over there in enough time that he did, Jerry Lawler would have died at ringside.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It doesn't get much more closer than that.
You talk about those surreal wrestling calls, the real ones. Like we referenced Jim Ross and Michael Cole doing the rest of the broadcast at Jim Ross and Jerry the King Lawler doing the rest of the broadcast after the Owen Hart fall.
Yeah, it over the edge.
Such horrible. What jackass? The pay-per-view name and the fall. It just horrible.
It's
Either
crazy.
way, I remember Jeff Jarrett cutting the promo.
Could have been called 2 out of 3 falls. Let's be real. It's WWE we're talking about here.
But Jarrett trying to do the interview when he's crying.
Yeah.
And, Jim Ross and King holding the show together. That one always reminds me of the Jerry Lawler heart attack because Michael Cole is eyes are just watering up and he's very serious and very stern. Something's happening.
That whole main event of that show went without commentary.
Yeah. Was completely dead air.
Yep.
Fortunately, though, the King still alive and kicking. That was a damn good close call.
Has returned.
That's right. Jerry the King Lawler, guys. That's it for our first top 5 close calls. Let us know what you think in the comments down below after you like and subscribe.
Hold on, we'll wait.
Go ahead. We got all the time in the world. We're going on break for 2 weeks.
Have the point.
What are you doing for the rest of the day?
Have the point.
Don't give him the point.
Have the point.
Don't give him the point.
I really want the point.
Don't give him the
Have the
point. Don't do that.
Come on,
don't do that.
Come on, man.
Don't give him the point.
Come on, man.
Top 5.